Hey y'all, Josh here today, aka the world's greatest dad, and we're freezing our you-know-what off in the cold pod right now. And today we're going to break this thing down, tell you everything you need to know about it, and see if it's something you might need in your life as well. So with that being said, let's get it. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning. When you pick this thing up, it's going to come to you in a box just like this. Let's get her opened up, see what we're working with. And after unboxing this, here's everything you're going to get, including your insulated lid, the cold pod itself, your support legs, a drain hose, a nice little cold pod air pump, instruction manual, a couple of repair patches, and a nice little storage case. And as we take a little closer look at our instruction manual, you'll see fairly simple picture instructions laying everything out on how to put this thing together, getting started, taking care of the product itself, and who you need to contact if you have any problems. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up. Basically with the XL version, you're gonna have yourself 8 support legs. If you get the regular one, you're gonna have 6 of those. And all we're gonna do is find these bottom holes right here. We'll insert this side with kind of the little rounded edge in first, and you'll have the rubber footers down at the bottom. Now we're just going to go ahead and take our cold pod air pump, undo our air valve, and we're going to air up this outer ring. It only took about 10 seconds to air this whole thing up, and one thing that's kind of nice is it has this nice little stopper on here that your air pump actually fits right into, and then you can go ahead and put air in it, but when you remove the pump, the air doesn't rush out. And you can go ahead and just close the valve right there, push this thing in, and you're ready to go. So setting this thing up was super simple, only took us a couple of minutes. As you can see, all you had to do was simply put in the legs, air up your rim right here, and you are good to go. So we take a little walk around this thing, you'll kind of see how it's constructed. You'll see over here that we've actually got our external drain right there, along with our shut-off valve when we want to let the water out. If we take a look on the inside, you're going to see that you actually have 2 different drains. You've got that one right there, and then also at the bottom, you can just pull that out and drain water out of the bottom as well. Nice little cold pod labeling on this thing, and I gotta say, it looks pretty sharp. So now that we got it all set up, let's go ahead and get our hose in there, get this thing filled up. Before you put the hose in and turn it on though, make sure that both of your drains are shut so you don't have water rushing out the bottom. Now as we get all filled up, let's go ahead and chat about the makeup of the cold pod and the lid. Now basically on the outside of both of these, you're going to have this nice nylon layer, and then on the inside, you're going to have this PVC liner. Now sandwiched in between those is going to be a pearl foam, which is going to help with insulation and keeping your water cold. So we got this filled just to where we want it, which is going to be 6 inches below your inflated ring right there. Now, obviously the water coming out of our faucet is fairly cold, but it's not going to be cold enough to give us the benefits of a cold plunge. To do that, we got to get this water anywhere between 37 and 50 degrees. Now, obviously we could go to the store every time and buy a bunch of ice, but that's not going to be very economical in the long run. The better option is to get yourself a bunch of ice water bottles, go ahead and use them to cool down your water, then put them back in your freezer till the next time that you need them. So we're going to go ahead and throw these 4 in, get this thing all cooled down. And we also have an ice machine in our fridge, so we're going to go ahead and dump in some ice as well to help cool this thing down a little faster. So we've had our ice chunks in for about an hour, and one thing I can already tell is that depending on the climate that you're in as well as the time of year is going to determine how many ice bottles you're going to need to get this thing below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Now we're sitting mid-October where we've had kind of mid-60s days, mid-40s nights, and the 4 ice bottles that I had was not going to do the trick. So we threw some ice in from our fridge as well as several other ice chunks. Now what I would probably do in the future is I would have 10 full ice bottles ready to go that I could throw in, leave in for an hour, put back in my freezer, and once I kind of get that going with this, I should be able to keep this water nice and cold for a daily ice bath. All right, so we're able to get this thing below 50 degrees. It's time to cold plunge, baby. All right, here we go. Let's test this bad boy out. obviously this Cold Pod XL is plenty big for me. Now I'm 6 foot, 220 pounds, and I can dive right down in here, whoo, all the way up to my neck. I could even submerge my head if need be as well. Now the Cold Pod I'm sitting in today is the Cold Pod XL, and this is going to measure out at 30 inches tall by 35 inches in diameter, and it's going to hold up to 116 gallons of water. Now besides that, you can get the original Cold Pod, which is going to hold 88 gallons of water, and it's going to measure out 30 inches tall by 30 inches in diameter. Now the last option you have is the Cold Pod Elite Lite XL, and that's going to hold up to 120 gallons of water, but it's going to have rigid walls, and it's also going to be compatible with a cold water chiller.
Hey Dad, can I try this thing out?
I'm about at my 5 minutes. Absolutely. Woo!
Okay, Dad, never mind. You can have it back. Oh, cold! Much better.
Well, that's enough cold plunging for one evening. Let's go ahead and get our lid on here. I'm going to dive back into this bad boy tomorrow morning. We've got a evening that's supposed to get mid to low 40s, so this thing should stay nice and cool. Be ready for me then. So your lid does feature 2 strap adjustments right here. So basically you can go ahead and get this thing nice and tight around that outer lip. And that's going to help out if you have any wind or anything to keep your lid on and keep any goobers from getting in your Cold Pod. Let's try this thing again. Came out about an hour ago and threw my ice chunks in. Let's go ahead and get a temperature reading. 45.1. Let's go. All right, baby, round 2. Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and dump the head today. A little bit colder water today. This takes that initial burst. Get used to it a little bit. Oh. Definitely a lot quicker to keep this thing nice and cool this morning. Again, we're in October, so I think we were about high 40s last night. Threw the ice bottles in, let them sit for about an hour. Got a temperature reading there in the high 40s, and definitely a little bit chillier. Now, when I use this thing, as we progress into the winter, I won't even need to throw these ice bottles in, as the temperature should keep this thing nice and cold. Obviously in the summer, I'm going to need to throw in quite a few more ice bottles to kind of hold it down, but overall, things sat well through the night. Pretty nice little refreshing soak here in the morning. Whoo! There we go, 5 minutes. Another cold plunge in the books. Oh yeah. Now when it comes to cleaning and maintaining your Cold Pod, first and foremost, make sure you're nice and clean before you get in that thing. If you do that, keep your lid on, you should be able to use this water for about 2 weeks. Now at that point, you're going to need to drain it and clean out the inside before you refill it or take it down. Now they do provide you with this nice little drain pipe right here. Basically this thing's going to expand to just about 2 feet. So we can go ahead and hook this down into our drain and drain the water out. At that point, we're going to use soap and water to wash out the inside liner. Then we're going to dry it off with a nice towel and refill it again or put it away for storage. So there you go. That's pretty much everything you need to know about the Cold Pod. So to close this video out, here's my 3 takeaways. Number 1, this thing is super simple to put together. Only takes you a couple minutes, and all you have to do is put these stakes in, air up your rim, and you're ready to hold water. Number 2, I love the fact that you can store water in this thing for a couple weeks, and then when it's time to clean it out, you simply drain it out, wash it with soap and water, fill it back up, and you're ready to go again. And number 3, remember, if you want to save some money, go ahead and get yourself about 10 of these ice jugs, keep them in your freezer, and that's going to help keep this thing nice and cold for when you want to get inside of it. For those reasons and more, I'm easily giving this thing a world's greatest dad 2 thumbs up, and I say, go out and get you one.
Hey, one more thing before you go.
I want to let you know that the Cold Pod Company is a big fan of the World's Greatest Dad's in-depth and informational videos. Therefore, a few months ago, they reached out to me and asked me if they could send us this product for video review purposes. Now, with that being said, all the thoughts and opinions expressed in this video were our own, and we always do our best to accurately describe any product we review. Now, I hope this video helped you out. We'll see you next time.